going on? Today I'm doing this book review about Morris Day. It's On Time, A Princely Life and Funk. Interesting book, if you will, must say, because this book, he talks about his time with Prince, but he talks about it in the one, second, and the third person. He talks about himself and he talks about Prince. And he talks through the voice of Prince, but he also talks directly as himself and with their interactions and thoughts. This book was done with David Ritz, but it's very interesting concept. It's like a one man theater and play. I say right now it's like the best thing that Tyler Perry hasn't done as far as doing a one man theater as a play, in the sense that you could actually do this and pull it off. It's very compelling. It talks about their history together because they grew up as kids in Minneapolis. How, as adults, Prince had him as a video director on a lot of his concerts early on. Even the infamous time when Prince opened up for the Rolling Stones. That would be interesting to see. And also how they wrote Party Up for Prince in exchange for the deal for the Times albums, which it turned into be an interesting bittersweet love-hate relationship over the years, because Day and Prince collaborated on all those Time albums and also in some unreleased stuff. And then they also worked on Prince projects together on some songs, B-sides, and also, let's not forget, they did two movies together. Now, Prince created the alter ego for Morris Day with the character and everything. However, it took a life of its own because Morris, he just happened to have a personality that it just allowed itself to take a life of its own. And it did. He stole the scenes in Purple Rain as an actor. And in fact, when, pardon me, when Morris departed and had a solo career back in '85 with the Oak Tree, which blew up, and the Color Success album, which went gold, and etc. Morris went on. Prince did his Cherry Moon movie and kept Jerome Benton, who was the man holding the mirror in the time, and everyone knows Jerome. But the interesting thing is Prince took on that persona and character, but it didn't woo the audience the same as Day. If you remember Crush Groove with Sheila E., she took on the Day persona as well in the movie, and it was lackluster, because musically aside, no one was feeling her prancing around trying to capture this character. And that character has taken a life of its own. Now, let's be real. Prince and Morris were like brothers, deep friends, deep tones. But then Prince, they went their separate ways. They had his issues, which he addresses with drugs, addictions, fame, etc. And Prince referenced him in Pop Life, what you put in your nose, and in the original Old Friends for Sale. He talked about Morris Day a lot. That was deep hurt and wounds from Prince. If you remember, if you saw when Prince and Sheila E. did a Love Bazaar on her concert live from Frisco, and they performed, and it was on MTV. I want to say, was it back in October of 85? It was 86. In March of 86, yeah. Performed. Anyway, Prince came out and said the wooden leg, he was mocking the Oak Tree. He had kept Day on his mind. So they had patched things up. And just like brothers and family, they had their issues, so on and so forth. But they didn't make up before Prince passed. But one thing about this book, it details takes and opinions. It's very comedy, sad. Like I said, love, hate. No malice at all. And Morris ain't trying to cash in on nothing. He's just talking about his dear old friend Prince, and how they helped change the sound of music, and they were both impactful for one another. Because the thing is, they both needed each other to prosper. Morris definitely needed Prince to get where he got, and Prince needed Morris to not only with the character, but also be that creative outlet for the material, because Warner Brothers was probably looking at Prince sideways, cross-eyed, and crazy, because he always wanted to flood the market with music and a lot of things. And Morris was a vessel, a vehicle for him to do that, but also to give him, it's an interesting thing. Prince played a role kind of like a gypsy, like he appealed to everybody. And Morris Day in the time was like his straight black side of it. And that's the interesting dynamic at work. That role that was played stayed with a lot of people. Because even though Prince was the creative force behind the time, even though there was output from Morris played the drums on almost all all the time records. Jesse Johnson had some parts. He played a role in things, and Lisa Coleman and Fink, a few people. And you can also go back and Andre Simone had an idea with the concept of the time. Because originally the term was inspired by Kid Creole and the Coconuts, especially when you think about Morrison Jerome and August Darnell and Coco Hernandez, also known as Cody Mundi and Kid Creole. So you can go back and do that looking. But the interesting thing is that that whole thing with the time, was the Prince's vision, Prince's concept. The time was waxing on his behind back in the day. As a matter of fact, some places like be New York or LA, Prince was not letting the time take his shine. And they had really took a life of their own, you know. But also the fact is that um, they were a serious set of musicians. Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, who went on to be two of the greatest, most successful producers. Jesse Johnson, who's truly unsung. Then you also have Jelly Bean Johnson, bad drummer, multi-talented. Matter of fact, played that guitar solo on Black Cat for Janet Jackson. Jelly Bean, a bad boy. Jerome was more than just a mirror dude. He did some acting. He had some personality, Monty Moyelle on the keys. That's a tight white boy too. So, when you look at the original cast of characters, very talented. But they had definitely on live on stage. They definitely was giving Prince a run for his money, and they took his material, and then they went on and they, created what they did. So this book is a very compelling one man show. Morris did this on a Broadway play. I say go see, go check it out, because I'm telling you, this is a very compelling read, and he captures it so well. But if anybody was to talk about Prince, there's only a handful who could, and Morris is one of the few. Until I wish Andre Simone would come out with a book, and there's a few, but Morris is one of the very few who would have that right, unbiased, and would put in perspective. And this book definitely does that. And I would recommend checking this book out. I really enjoyed it. So that's my thoughts and takes about the Morris Day book, A Princely Life and Funk, did with David Ritz. Feel free to give me your thoughts and your takes, your favorite time moments, association with Prince and Morris, what you thought, the whole nine. When the bell rings in the video, have a good day. Yes.